Hello students, a very good morning to one and all. As you can see, in today's session we will be talking about some questions from the chapter Our Environment. Whole chapter is completed, every part we have already studied. Now we will be discussing questions from previous years. Like the questions which were asked in previous year examination, your CBSE examination, that I have included in today's session. And also some new questions also we have incorporated. So let's start the today's session. So as you can see, the first three questions, they are of 1 mark. After that the questions will come, the questions which will come, they will be of 2 marks and 3 marks and later on the 5 marks. So basically it is just an initiative to tell you how you have to attempt these type of questions. See, content we have already prepared. We have already done the content in detail, whatsoever things are important, we have already completed that. But students always feel problem that what to write in a questions or in a answer, where they have to stop themselves, how to write them, that all we will be discussing in today's session. So read this question, that is question number 1. How is the increase in demand for energy affecting our environment adversely? They are asking, when we talk about the increase in demand of energy they comes from the burning process, that is the burning of the fossil fuels. So whenever these burning occur, they releases some gases into atmosphere. So that causes environmental pollution. So in this you can write high demand of energy require what? Burning of fossil fuels. They require burning of fossil fuels, right? Which releases, listen very carefully, which releases carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide and SO2, sulfur dioxide into environment. So when these gases they are released into atmosphere, we know that carbon dioxide they act as a greenhouse gas, right, which help in maintaining the temperature of earth. Temperature of earth is habitable because of release of these greenhouse gases. This is just a single example. Likewise, when these gases they are released into the atmosphere, they causes air pollution. So what it causes? It causes air pollution. Is it fine, students? So this was question number 1. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 2. Now, read this question by the time. Let me prepare this board for you. So, question number 2. Why is ozone layer getting depleted in the higher level of atmosphere? Now, listen to this very carefully. Now, ozone. Now, if I ask you one question, if you have seen the sessions properly and hope you will be able to give this answer. Where is this ozone layer present? This is present in stratosphere. Where they are present? Stratosphere. Right. Now, why it is getting depleted? The reason is that because of release of ODS. What is the full form of ODS? That is ozone depleting substances. Ozone depleting substances into atmosphere from refrigerator and fire extinguisher. right? For example, CFC. What is the full form of CFC? That is chlorofluorocarbon. Because of release of these gases into the atmosphere, this causes thinning of ozone layer which is present in the stratosphere. And if this ozone will get depleted, the chances that penetration of harmful UV radiation can occur. If there will be penetration of harmful UV rays, this can cause death of various organisms. If they will fall on skin, it can cause skin cancer. If they fall on plants, they can cause destruction of the chlorophyll, etc. and etc. Similarly, when they fall on eye, it can cause the blindness and cataract as well. This was question number 2, a very easy even direct question from your NCERT. Let's move on to the next question, question number 3. So, again the question number 3 is of 1 mark and it is again a direct question from your NCERT. So, name any 2 abiotic component of environment. Now, listen very carefully. Here they have mentioned the abiotic component. Abiotic component, the another name which is given, that is a non-living component. Non-living component of environment. Now, this non-living component, basically our environment, it has 2 components, a living component and a non-living component. Their interaction is important for our ecosystem, right? For the survival of ecosystem, this is important. Biotic, in this, the biotic components, they are organisms which can be plants, which can be animals, organisms present at the various trophic levels. All of these, they will come under the biotic component. Abiotic component means these are the factors which is required by these biotic component for their survival. In this, the example you can write is temperature. In this, you can write the temperature we have written, or you can take an example of rainfall. Other than that, you can take an example of soil. All of these, they are abiotic component. Just a 1 mark question, only 2 points they are asking, so you can write any of these. Otherwise, the water is there and so many factors are there which is important. Right? Right? Is it clear? So, let's move on to the next question, question number 4. So, let's have a look. So, as you can see, the question number 4 is of 2 marks. How is ozone formed in upper atmosphere? Why is the damage of ozone layer cause of concern to us? State a cause of this damage. Again, very easy question. Superficial way we have already discussed in a second or third question. I guess it was second question. So, they are asking how is ozone formed in upper atmosphere. Now, again let's talk about it. Ozone, where it is present? It is present in stratosphere. I am talking about ozone layer, right students? So, this ozone, listen to this, has 2 parts, or it has 2 functions you can say. One is called as a good ozone and second is called as a bad ozone. Bad ozone. Good ozone is that ozone which is present in the stratosphere, whereas when this ozone is present in the troposphere, which is near to the earth's surface, it can act as a greenhouse gas, right, which can increase the temperature of earth and then blah blah blah. So, these are the bad ozone, right. Now, they are asking only the first part, that is a good ozone. They are saying how this good ozone or a ozone layer is formed in the stratosphere. You all know that ozone has a formula of O3. This is how we denote ozone. Triatomic molecule of oxygen they have. Now, listen very carefully how they are formed. We have an oxygen molecule. Oxygen molecule. When this oxygen molecule is broken down because of the sun rays or the UV rays falling on them, this causes a formation of oxygen atom. This is what? Oxygen atom. Again, this is what? Oxygen atom. Is it fine? Right? When this oxygen atom, they combine with the oxygen molecule, it leads to formation of a triatomic molecule of oxygen, which is ozone. So, listen to this. Again, when it is combining with a molecule of, or sorry, molecular oxygen, when it is binding with this atomic oxygen, this helps in the formation of ozone. This is what ozone is. Right? Is it fine? So, first part, is it clear? How is ozone formed in the upper atmosphere? These are the reactions which you have to write. Now, why is the damage of ozone layer cause of concern to us, and state a cause of the damage? Come to this side, students. Now, because when these fall on the earth's surface or when they fall on skin, we have discussed about this, it can cause skin cancer, right? When they fall on eye, it can cause cataract, right? Similarly, they can damage chloroplast as well, due to which the overall photosynthesis rate will decrease. Photosynthesis rate will decrease, that means productivity will decrease. Is it fine? Now, what are the reason for UV penetration? So, it will lead to the UV penetration, because what is the function? Function is that it protects us from the UV rays. So, just imagine a situation that if UV is penetrating, the person will be susceptible to the skin cancer, cataract, and the plants will be susceptible to the damage of chloroplast. Now, the reason, you know, it occurs because of ozone depleting substances. Ozone depleting substances, right? In this, you can write example of chlorofluorocarbon. Majority, it is because of the chlorofluorocarbon, right? So, this was question number 4. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 5, students. Again, a very interesting question. Again, it is of 2 marks. See, whenever you look at the marks gives you an idea what you write in an answer. If it is of a 1 marks, you have to just mention a single word or the 2 word or a single sentence if definition is, they are asking about definition. When it is of a 2 marks, you have to answer at least 3 to 4 lines along with the examples, right? Now, there are no problems for tiger or lion, sorry, no problem, not predator for tiger or lion. The reason is that. Now, tiger, lion are tertiary consumer. Tertiary consumer, can I write that they are top carnivore? Top carnivore, right? For them, no predator exists in nature, because if we talk about a food chain, when we talk about food chain, what is a food chain? In which one organism is depending upon another for the food. If normally when we talk about a food chain, only 10% of energy is transferred. 10% of energy transfer. Right, as we move from one trophic level to the higher trophic level or lower to the higher trophic level. In that condition, when we talk about the consumers, the topmost consumer, they get only a very less amount of energy starting from producers, but still they are surviving. So, this law states that our hardly 4 to 5 trophic level exist. Trophic level exist. Beyond that, energy is not this much present that they can sustain one more trophic level. That is why we don't have any kind of predator for our top consumer, which is a tiger and a lion. Beyond this, no sustenance will be there, right? So, that is the reason the tiger and the lion, they do not have any kind of predator. Is it fine? So, students, let's move on to the next question, question number 6. Now, explain the phenomena of biological magnification. How does it affect organisms belonging to different trophic level, particularly the tertiary consumer? Now, to talk about the very important phenomena, that is a biological magnification. What is the full form? Full form is that increase in level of pesticide with increasing trophic level. Trophic level of food chain. This is termed as a biomagnification, right? Another name which is given to biological magnification is bioconcentration. Bioconcentration. Right? Now, in the bioconcentration, what happens is, let's take an example. Fishes are there which is living in water. In a water, the various small plants are present, which we term it as a phytoplankton. Phyto means plant, plank. Yes, planktons. Free floating plants, phytoplanktons. These phytoplanktons, they are eaten up by the small animals. We call it as a zooplanktons. Zooplanktons, they are further eaten up by the another group of organisms, which is small fishes. Small fishes, they are further eaten up by the large fishes. Now, as per the biological magnification is considered, when we spray any pesticide, especially in the case of DDT, in the case of BHC, what happens is they get accumulate within the water. Suppose I am I have my agriculture field, in that I am growing certain plants. For the use of pesticide, I am using DDT, dichlorodiphenyl trichloroethane, that I am using. Rainfall will occur, surface runoff will occur, and all those DDT which is present on the soil surface, they will be migrated to nearby water bodies. As they will be migrated to nearby water bodies, that means, can I say that water is affected, right? That water, in this water, the various kind of the phytoplankton, they depend upon for the preparation of the food. That means all these DDT, you can say, they will enter into the phytoplankton's body, right? From the phytoplankton, it will enter into the zooplankton because they are eaten up by the zooplankton. And when we have seen the concentration, it was clearly visible that the zooplankton, they had more and more concentration as compared to the phytoplankton. This is biomagnification. Let's move on to the next trophic level, that the small fishes, they will be having this much amount, larger than the zooplankton. The last is a topmost consumer, they will be having the highest amount of these heavy metals. Heavy metals is also an example of it. This is a biomagnification. How does this affect the organism belonging to different trophic level, particularly the tertiary consumer? The thing is that their accumulation increases from one trophic level. This is, see what you have to answer now. The concentration of these pesticide, concentration of these heavy metal, they get accumulated throughout the chain. But as we move from one trophic level to another, the topmost is that group of organism which is most affected. Because they are not only, see, the large fishes, they are not only feeding on one or two small fishes. During their whole lifetime, they are feeding on lakhs of the species of these fishes for providing them energy. So that is why the concentration is higher. Similarly, we always say that topmost consumer or tertiary consumer, they are most affected organisms, right? This was again 2 marks question. Let's move on to the next question, number 7. So, question number 7 is again of 3 marks. What is environmental pollution? Environmental pollution means addition of pollutant in environment. Addition of pollutant in environment due to addition of pollutant in environment, which changes physical and chemical properties. This is termed as a environmental pollution. Now the second question, the second part is a direct question that they are asking, distinguish between a biodegradable and a non-biodegradable pollutant. We have already studied in session. Okay, let me give you an introduction regarding this. I will not go into the detail. For that you have to refer to our sessions. So biodegradable are those pollutants which can be degraded or which can be broken down into a non-toxic form, right? And this degradation is done, or this decomposition is done because of microorganisms like bacteria and the fungi, in which these complex substances, they are converted into the simpler one. This is called as a biodegradable substances. And biodegradable substances, these are those which are obtained from living organism only, right? In this you can take an example of a sewage, sludge, etc. Non-biodegradable are those which cannot be degraded into a non-toxic substances. They remain in nature, they are persistent in nature like this only. And they are mainly added to atmosphere via artificial, or you can say the non-living things, right? And it causes different type of pollution, which you know, it causes air pollution, it causes water pollution, soil pollution, etc. For the case of the biodegradable pollutant, we don't require as such space for their dumping. They get decomposed within a short duration of time, which can be further recycled, further reused. Whereas the non-biodegradable, they require a proper area, landfilling is required, right? This is the difference between the biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances. Let's talk about the C. Choose the biodegradable pollutant from the list given below, right? Now, let's talk about the first part, that is a sewage. Can we degrade sewage? Yes, of course. We have sewage treatment plant in which the microorganism, they degrade these sewage and convert into a usable form, which can be applied to the plant, and in fact, we can also use the biogas as well. So, this is a biodegradable. BD I am writing, right? Next, let's talk about the DDT. We have learned about the huge history of the DDT, that DDT, they act as a major pollutant because it get accumulate and it causes bioaccumulation of pesticide, which we call it as a bioaccumulation of pesticides. Now these DDT, they remain persistent within the body tissue and their concentration increases from one trophic level to another. So can I say that are they biodegradable? No, I cannot. In fact, they are non-biodegradable. Let's talk about the radioactive waste. What are radioactive waste? Radioactive waste, normally they releases radiations and these are not degraded. Again, these are non-biodegradable. Let's talk about the next, that is agricultural waste. Agricultural waste such as fallen leaves, fallen fruits, etc. Can we degrade them? Yes, we can degrade them with the action of microbes, microorganisms, algae, fungi, bacteria, fungi, sorry, they can be degraded. So, it is also a biodegradable waste. Now, they are asking some examples. So, in this, they are asking only the biodegradable pollutants. In this, you can write the sewage and the agricultural waste. Right, students? So, let's move on to the next question, number 8. So, this question number 8 is again of 3 marks. Now, why are bacteria and fungi are called decomposers? List 2 advantage of decomposers to the environment. Why they are called as a decomposer? Because they help in decomposition process. right? Now, what is the function of decomposers? Decomposer which convert complex organic substances into simpler inorganic substances. So, complex organic substances, they can be converted into simpler inorganic substances which can be used up by the plants, which can be easily absorbed by the plant. Now, the advantage, the first advantage I have already written. Okay, if they will ask you about the examples of the decomposers, you can write the bacteria and fungi. Bacteria and fungi. See, whatever nutrient they release, some of them they are utilized by the body of decomposers only for their own maintenance, and rest all they release into the soil so that they can be absorbed by the plants. Now, the advantages they are asking, the first advantage, hope you know, which I have written also, complex organic substances can be converted into the simpler inorganic substances which can be absorbed by the plant, right. So, the second point in this case, that they act as a natural scavenger. Act as a natural scavenger, right, students. So, this was the question number 8. Again, one more category is completed. Let us talk about the next question number 9. Seems a huge question, but do not worry, it is easy as well. Now, what is the difference between a food chain and a food web? Let us talk about it. Food chain, food web. This is how you will write. So, the first point, you know what is a food chain? Food chain is that chain in which one organism, one group of organism, one population is depending upon other population for food, where one population depend upon another food. This goes on a phenomena that is eating and being eaten. Right. Now, to talk about a food web is what? Food web is interlinking food chain. Interlinking food chain. This is termed as a food web. Right. Now, as per the food chain is considered in this 4 to 5 different population exist. Whereas in this case 4 to 5 food chain exist. In our nature, the food web exists because we always have some kind of alternative for our food. Now, as per the food chain is considered, food chain is a part of food web. Right. Now, as per the food web is considered, in this various food chains are present. Food chains are present. Right. Now, in this, hope you can write the example which we have discussed in session. Like food chain, you can take any of the example, like now only I gave you an example when the phytoplanktons, they feed on the zooplanktons, which with the help of arrow you can write they are fed upon by the small fishes, which is further fed upon by the large fishes, right. Hope you can mention, like I am thinking that you people are mature enough and you have seen the sessions. So hope you can write that as well, that below, if you are writing phytoplankton, below that you have to write producer, right. After that zooplankton is there. So zooplankton, below this you will write, what are they? They are consumers, the primary consumer, and later on the secondary consumer and the tertiary consumer, right. So food web also I have given you example in the session, and that you have to draw in it. How would you dispose of following waste? Domestic waste like vegetable peels and industrial waste. Now the domestic waste like vegetables, peels, etc., they can be easily decomposed by the decomposers. So in this we can use that they can be decomposed by the decomposers. Now the industrial waste, first of all, how we can dispose it? The first thing is that out of this industrial waste, if it is having a water also, the first thing will be straining. What we have to do, all the solid waste we have to separate from the non-solid waste or the liquid waste. Later on the water can be recycled, whereas the solid waste, this can be recycled again with the help of sewage treatment plants, etc., and etc., with the help of which the pure water can be obtained. Why there is a need to ban the use of the polythene bags? Again, very important topic it is, that is why we need to ban the use of the polythene bags. Polythene bags, these are non-biodegradable. They cannot be degraded further into a non-toxic form. They remain in nature like this only. They do not get degraded, right. So this is a major cause. That is why earlier these plastic glasses, they were available in trains, etc., for serving tea and the coffee, and later on it was replaced by the cooler, because the reason is that when we talk about a cooler, because cooler is made up of mud only, so it can cause the soil erosion, because we take out all these soil and etc. So later on, after that, it was again replaced by the paper glasses. Why it was replaced with the paper glasses? Because papers, they are biodegradable. Within a short duration of time, they degrade themselves, etc., and we can produce a manure out of it. So this was a question number 9. Let's move on to the next question number 10. So the energy transfer are said to be unidirectional, whereas a biochemical transfer is said to be cyclic. Now this also we have already studied in session, so I'll give you only in brief regarding this topic. Energy transfer. When we talk about the energy, when we take food, this gives us energy. So this energy transfer is always unidirectional. In this you can write an example, the producers are there. What are producers? The example we have is a green plant. Producers, they are eaten up by the group of organisms which is termed as a herbivores, the deer, etc. Herbivores, they are eaten up by the carnivore. Have you ever thought, from here the energy is not further transferred to the next trophic level, which we have discussed, why it is not the case? Have you ever heard that carnivores, they are eaten up by the producers? Not at all. That means energy flow is always unidirectional. Actually what happens is, whenever these herbivores die, whenever these carnivores die, they are decomposed by the decomposer. When they are decomposed by the decomposers, they releases nutrients which are taken up by the producer. They follow this path. So that is why we always say the flow of energy is always unidirectional. On the contrary, the biochemical transfer is said to be cyclic. Yes. Now, the nutrients which is taken up by the plants, they are taken up by the next group of organisms such as herbivores, which is taken up by the carnivores. When these carnivores, whenever these herbivores, they die, those nutrients, they will again go back to the soil. Once they go back to the soil, those nutrients which are taken up by the producers. Right? Is it cyclic? Yes, of course, it is cyclic. What is artificial ecosystem? Give 2 examples. In this you can write in examples of aquarium, your agricultural field, etc. They act as an artificial ecosystem. What are the components of the ecosystem? There are 2 components of ecosystem. This is what you have to explain. So first is considered as a biotic component, second is considered as a abiotic component. These are the 2 components which we have discussed in session, you have to write over here. So then the biotic you will explain producer, again you will explain the consumer, the different type of consumer as well, the primary consumer, the secondary consumer, the tertiary consumers. As per the abiotic component are considered in this, you have to explain soil, you have to explain water, in the water you will explain your rainfall. Other than that, you can write in this case, that is temperature. So temperature also affect distribution of organism, because we are talking about a relationship between organism and environment, which gives us an idea of an ecosystem. So with this we have completed all the 10 questions from the chapter Our Environment. So with this we have completed a whole chapter, theory as well as question practice. Everything is completed from my side, and hope you all are practicing the questions as well, and in case you face any doubt, you can ask us. So thank you so much students for watching this.